Hello, welcome back to the channel and the second part of the CAPEHART 405 FR, as I've been remembered it is, because it's got the remote unit. So I think the R is to note that it's got the remote, but this is the CAPEHART 405 FR restoration, second video. Before I go up, the main part of this video is we're going to start doing the amplifiers, have a look inside there. But just as a quick aside, before we get there, inside the CAPEHART, on the left-hand side, there's a couple of black boxes that I didn't know what was in there, and the owner didn't know what was in there. But they all sort of connected through to the remote control unit. So I've whipped those off today, and have a quick look at what we've got here. This is what they look like on the inside of the cabinet. Obviously, they're bolted through with these little sort of keyway slots on this side, and these fit through. But in here, as we can see, if I fire a bit more light in there for you, it is there's a small motor that drives a potentiometer down here, the volume control. I'm assuming it's going to be volume control. It would appear that the pickup plugs into here, and I'm assuming the radio audio plugs into here as well, because there's like a multi-way plug that fits in here that's got sort of screened audio cables going to it. So this, we've seen one of these old beasts before. This is very much like the ones we saw on the the remote unit, the solenoids that just used for clunking away, and this there, say the little motor there to make use of I'm assuming it's going to do the volume control. So that's the first little box we've got, and then there's a second one. This, what I can work out, fires up into the actual radio itself via this multi-plug here. The wiring going to this has gone crunchier than eggshells, so that's going to have to be replaced. But what this one looks like is very simple, sort of low voltage DC supply. And I say low voltage because I can see on the side of the condenser in here that is marked 200 microfarads at 50 volts. So there's obviously some sort of low voltage circuit. As I said, I've got no wiring diagram for this. These selenium rectifiers are renowned for going crappy, and when they do go off, they go off with a horrible stink. So I'm not going to dwell on these too much. It's going to be very much like the last video if I go there again. So I'm just going to, what I will do off camera, I should just recap this one and sort of sort that selenium rectifier out. This one here will just get rewired. The wiring on here is absolutely fine. It hasn't gone crunchy. It's in really good condition. This is a bit of a clean up, but the solenoid here will need to come out, and we can just have a look at that. So we're not going to about that on this video. What we're going to concentrate today is what I'm going to put on the bench, which is the amplifiers. So here is the treble amplifier from the CAPEHART, and it's quite a big beast. You can see it's a sizable thing. We've got this enormous mains transformer here, and we've got other chokes, an output transformer. It's obviously got quite a large output transformer for all the speaker outputs. You've got sort of 3 speaker outputs, 1 here and 2 here, plus some other bits and bobs. The connection point here is takes off and connects to the bass amplifier. Because looking at the service, because I have got schematics for this, not a wired diagram as such, but just a schematic for the treble amplifier, and one for the bass amp. And the bass amp does a lot of the preamp from the radio and phono part, and then sends part of that signal off to the treble amp to then say this then connects just to that. I think it's the 12-inch Jensen that then powers up the treble. So then again, it's quite a simple amp. They're not too complicated. It's all sort of transformer coupled, which we need to double check. Its valves are here, rectifier, preamp valves, and the output valves are hidden behind this transformer. You can see they're just in there. So that's the 6L6 output stage there. If we just carefully spin it on the side, if I just get in there, you can see there's not masses in here. The treble amplifier is a lot more simple than the bass, because it's got less involved circuitry. But we've got obviously these main smooth and electrolytic capacitors, condensers on the top. We're going to keep those in situ, but remove the wire from here, so it looks the part on when you look from the top. We'll have modern. I've been using these German-made condensers for quite some time now, and they're really good quality. They'll last a lifetime. So we'll fit those in here out of the way, but you won't see them. A couple of other electrolytics here that I want changing. We just check the specs of some of these resistors, and of course just go through those interstage transformer windings. We've got stages here that are fed. If I just take you up, some of these stages here are fed to the output stage via transformers. So we need to make sure that they're okay, and if not, we'll have to address maybe getting them sort of sent off for a rewind or any other options. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'd say we'll just pop it down. I'm going to give us initially just a bit of a clean up, get those valves out, and then we'll come back and we'll just start replacing some of these components. I've just metered out the transformers and they all seem to bang out just fine, so touch wood, they're going to be just fine. That's the interstage transformer, the output transformer, they seem to be okay. Just go and double check, the electrolytics on this aren't wired, they've got the grid bias for the output valves coming off the supply. So a couple of these condensers aren't taken to ground, so you need to be mindful of that. But anyway, we've worked out what's what, we've worked out what wires are going where. I've fitted a piece of tag strip in here, soldered it in straight to the chassis. It's not coming out, and I'm going to be fitting these. I say these German. These are Worth, I think, super quality condensers, polyester potted ones or whatever they're potted with. But they are fantastic. So they will go in there. We'll put a selection of those in there. There's 4 to go in, and then we just have to concentrate on these ones. And then we're pretty much just, it'll be a matter of just testing, and we check this resistor here, this is fine. It's just a matter of then testing and cleaning and getting some valves in there. But yeah, this needs addressing too. This resistor here has gone open circuit, so we need to find a resistor to go in there. And these old TCC mica condensers, the wiring is starting to break down. A lot of verdigris green crap starting to grow on here, so I don't want these breaking. So this will all come off. We'll sort of work on that as well. But what I'm going to do, get these the smoothing capacitors back in, and I'll sort of bring you back once we've got a bit more done in the actual chassis. So I fitted the new smoothing capacitors. You can see there's a little block up here now, fitted on tag strip. So that's nice and secure, all to the actual, they're sort of soldered directly to the chassis as well, so they're not going to move anywhere. The little electrolytic that was connected up here, this is for the sort of 1920 volt, or minus 1920 volt grid bias supply. That's just floating, I've got to get rid of that because that's now fitted up here also in amongst this new little sort of block of condensers up there. So what I've got to do now is to replace this one here, and then we'll just sort these last two. They say this resistor unfortunately is kaput, and we'll sort those little mica condensers out as well. And we've also got a bit of mains to deal with. This is where the mains comes into the set, and you can see at the minute it's just hanging on a chop block. So we will just replace this wire going to the transformer, and then we'll concentrate, just giving the top a bit more of a clean up, getting some valves in it. We'll use what we've got for now, but eventually we'll go through and test the valves and make sure that they're all good before it goes back to the customer. But for now, I'm just going to finish off these last couple of capacitors here, and then we'll have another look at the back when it's all sort of put back together again. So we can see that this has now all been pretty much ready to be turned up, and we can work on the top. This wire in here has all been relaced, because obviously I've had to reroute some of these cables. When we've taken out all these old wet electrolytics that were on there originally, they've obviously been replaced with this lot. This resistor here that I thought was open circuit isn't open circuit. It was just covered in so much green crud on the leads I couldn't test it, and that's actually a really good resistor. So cleaned those leads all up, and that's gone back in just fine. The other a little bit of cathode bypass and stuff for the preamp valve is down there. That's been dealt with, and obviously got the new mains wire coming in there. And I've just attached this to the chassis rather than just floating around in midair. I don't like that too much. New P-clip there to grab the cable, and then we've got the cable coming out here, which is obviously the mains cable to that to the treble amp. So what I'm going to do is just drop it on the top and give it a clean up, and then it'll be pretty much ready to put to one side, and then we'll work on to the bass amp. So that's the treble amp pretty much done for the actual rebuild of it. Obviously when it comes to putting it all back in the case, we'll then start doing testing of each of these amplifiers, but for now this is all put back together and where we need to be. Obviously we'll put the valves back in, the tubes back in. There's not many on this, you've got to say, I've got a couple of 6L6s, and there's a preamp valve, and there's a 5Z3 for the rectifier. We haven't, so the customer doesn't want this chassis sandblasted and stripped back. We want to make it look like it's got a bit of age to it. So what we've done, we've given it a light brush over, and we've also stopped the rust with some rust inhibitor, so that's been wiped over. And we're very careful not to sort of damage any of these labels and this sort of stuff on here, because obviously the customer is quite particular about leaving these bits behind and not damaging those. So they're as they are, so they've not been covered. And then we've then just given it a very light wax oiling over the whole thing, just to sort of give it a nice sort of slightly waxy coating to prevent any other sort of surface rust happening in the next 80 odd years. So that's it for the treble amp. What we're going to do now is jump into the bass amp. So this is the bass amplifier. It weighs an absolute ton because we've got the bigger transformers, because this one was originally designed to run at 25 cycles, 25 hertz, so that you need a bit more metal for that to work. So you've got more iron and obviously more copper. But the amplifier itself is in a similar state to the last one, so it's really quite grubby. So I'll zip you in a bit closer and we'll have a look. So now a little bit closer with the CAPEHART bass amplifier. Obviously these transformers here and chokes and what have you aren't affected, but this one is the mains transformer, and the panel on the front clearly states that it's for 25 hertz, not 50 or 60 hertz, and that's why this is a bit thicker. The lower the frequency, the larger the transformer needs to be, due to, you know, I'm not a transformer designer, but it's to do with, you know, saturation, magnetic saturation, plus the, you know, the amount of turns needed. But they're always a little bit thicker. So this one's almost twice as thick as the one on the treble amplifier. If you just spin it round, same sort of speaker output as we've seen before. And here's the front panel again with the, just drop it down just a little bit. So that's very jerky. Just with the label and the actual CAPEHART badge, that's all there still. This is the wire that I mentioned that goes off to the treble amplifier. It just wants a bit of a clean up, but it's all there. It's not cracked or chipped. It's nice and clean, so we can make use of that. I need to check this wire though, because it sounds a little bit crunchy inside, so I've got a feeling we're going to have to replace that screened wire. Little bit more going on with this one than there was with the treble amplifier. You've got what would have been 6L6s, but someone's got there's a KT66s, virtually the same sort of thing in a different bottle. But anyway, so these will be replaced. There's a bit more. We've got some preamplification on this stage. Obviously, the output from the tuner, the amplifier, the tuner, the control unit, whatever you want to call it. This is mainly the amplification for the pickup, so you need a lot more amplification. This amplifies the front end, and then it sends some of that signal off to the treble amplifier down this wire. So let me just spin it around this way so you can see it's a bit clearer. So these are chokes and output transformers. Here is this interstage here. There's been an addition of a great big TCC oil-filled condenser here, and I think I'm going to see if we can get that out, because that's really in the way there. And we'll give it back to the customer, so he's got it all for bits. But that's not original. That's been boshed in at some point in the past. So let's just spin it up this way, and you can see there's a little bit more going on with this one than there was with the treble amplifier. So let's zoom in a bit on that one. So you've got a little bit more going on with this one than we have with the other. There's that wire that goes off to the treble amp. You can see there's some bits that have been, so these don't look original to me. These have been sort of bodged in over the years. These are just dangling into thin air. And this is CAPEHART, so this was, you know, no expense spared. I'm very much doubt that I've had condensers just dangling in midair like that. You can see here, this is the bottom of that oil-filled condenser. Someone's drilled a new hole here, and this is, you can almost make out the original rings where the nut and washer would have been for the original long metal capacitor that would have been originally, the wet electric condenser that was in there originally. So that's been replaced. We'll deal with that. just to put something in there that looks the part. A few more electrolytics in here, so you've got a bit more going on at the front end. We've got a little bit more amplification going on, and I can spot in here an RS radio spares condenser, so that's been changed at some point. But all of these look original. The same thing here going on with the mains. I don't think this is CAPEHART. I think this has been when it came here, or something's happened in the past and they've had some new wiring fitted to it. But that one's got a ceramic chock block and that started to crack, so we're probably going to have to change that one. So what I'm going to do, same as the other one, we're going to monitor and measure the output transformer and the interstage transformer, make sure they're all as they should be, because that's going to be a problem if they're packed up. So we'll just go along and measure those. Simple to do it with a multimeter. What I'll do is I'll pause it, I'll spin it around and get a little bit closer, and we'll just have a quick look at what we're doing with that. So the first one I'm going to measure will be the primary of the output transformer, and I can see this is the secondary, the really thick heavy wires coming out of that transformer going up to the speaker terminals on here. These go to the anodes of the output valves, the KT66s or 6L6s as it will be. So what I've got to do initially is just measure across, and you can see up in you should be able to see the meter up here. Move that around a little bit. Initially I'm just going to measure across that, so we'll go from that anode to this anode here, and hopefully we get a read in there. If we don't, we're in a muddle. It's not the easiest thing to find because, as I say, they're a bit cruddy. And that's not looking good. That is not looking good at all. Let's go to the centre tap. I can't believe it's gone that open. The problem is, right, that side's fine. I think we've got half of the primary is gone open, which means we're going to have to get this another transformer or get this one rewound. But let's not condemn it just yet, because as I say, we've got a lot of that green crud on those wires. So I'm going to go back to that point, which is the centre tap, and just double check again to here. That's fine, and then we go to the anode here, and unfortunately that is open circuit. So it's a bit of bad news, unfortunately, for the output transformer, which is a real pain in the backside, because that's going to be a real pain to try and get that dealt with, because it's such a specialist transformer. Right, so we might have to have a look inside to make sure that something hasn't, obviously come adrift inside the transformer. Let's just go and try some of the other bits and bobs. The secondaries will be fine because they're all such heavy current. Where is the... Now here is the interstage transformer. Let's have a look at that one. That's the primary of the interstage, and then the secondary, which is split off to the grids, is here. So that's the grid there and the grid there. That's good, and we'll just make sure that the centre tap is intact. That goes down to that point there, 1.2. So it's 120 ohms-ish. No, 120, yeah, so they're fine. So the interstage is fine, but we have got a problem with the output transformer. So I need to speak to the customer and see how they want to move forward on that one. So what I might have to do for now is just put the base amp to one side while we wait for that transformer, speak to the customer, see what he wants to do. We could recap it while we're here. Do you know what? We could get that all bit done because we're going to have to find the transformer anyway. So let's go ahead and recap it. We can then just work out what we're going to do with the transformer after we've done the restoration on the rest of it. But thankfully, the interstage is good. The output is going to be an issue. So yeah, my worst fears I did another quick probe just without the camera there. I had a really good push and stick around on that, and unfortunately, that primary is kaput on a base amp. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and recap it. I'll speak to the customer. I have got a contact, and so has he in the States. It might be easier for us to try and see if we've got a spare transformer from there, rather than trying to get a very specialist one rewound. So I'll go ahead and recap it. I'll bring it back once I've recapped it, and sort of put the new mains wire and everything on. It's going to be very similar to the treble amp, just a little bit more involved in the actual sort of front end of it down here. But yeah, so I'll give the customer a call and see how he wants to move forward with the poorly output transformer. I've been asked a few times on previous videos how, because I fit tag strip to take the new condensers, capacitors. And obviously, so these chassis are quite thick, and regular soldering iron isn't going to cut it. What I've got is I think it was originally designed for doing stained glass windows or lead work, but it's a 100-watt chunky beast, and you can see on the end it's got a pretty much flat tip, so I can go in there, I can really get a large lump of the chassis nice and hot really quickly, and then just flow some solder in. And as to date, touch wood, I've not had any troubles. It seems to work really well. So that's what I've done in here now. You can see I've fixed this lump of tag strip here. I've got to go clean up the flux and that sort of stuff on it, but that's not going. I could tug the whole chassis with that, so that's not going to go anywhere. So that's on, ready to just be. You can see I've temporarily tacked this one condenser in here. I'm going to load the rest up. There's a couple I've fitted it up this end because they're the audio part, so I didn't want to start cutting around and moving long wires for that. So they're going to have to go a little closer up there, but that's not a problem. They're in. I've just got to wire them in. So what I'm going to do now is just finish off wiring all these replacement smoothing capacitors, and then we'll have to reroute these wires slightly just underneath here. But these will all need relacing again. I've had to cut all the lacing because I had to take that poorly output transformer out. So that's what these two holes are here for. That's where the wires for the output transformer go. So I'm going to crack on with the wiring of these capacitors, and I'll bring it back in a little while once we've got those in. And then what we'll do, I'll do a little bit of time lapse of me just going ahead and fitting up the rest of the capacitor at this end and just doing some checks. So I've just temporarily tacked in all the new electrolytic capacitors here. Not electrolytic, they're smoothing capacitors. We'll get there in the end. So the new smoothers are fitted here. They're just tacked in at the moment because I've got to finalise all the wiring and where it's going to go, because these need sort of redressing once we're finished. Got a few new wires going in because the old ones have started to get a bit brittle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick on a time lapse while we just finish this, and I'll bring you back when we're all done.
Fix up the screens, they're statically beamed. Granny's records keep a spinning. When the sun goes down, I tune the static sound. Old shows on the tube we know takes me back.
So as you see, we're upside down here now, so you can see the base. All the smoothing capacitors are done. I've just got to relace these wires. I'm not going to do that until I get the output transformer back, because obviously there's a few wires that will come from that that go to and from it. So we're going to want to see how we're going to lace that. You can see this area down here. We've done quite a bit of work around here. All new condensers fitted down there. So new wiring as well, because some of the other stuff has started to break down, and the new smoothers here as well. We also noticed when I was looking that the screen lead that goes off to the treble amp, this has started to break down. So we've cleaned the plug, and we've got some nice sort of period braided wire which we've used for that. New old stock stuff, but that's got there really well. So that's taken back the original point down there. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'll just turn it back over so you can quickly see the top, and then we'll call it a day for this one. So here she is right side up, obviously with the the output transformer lives here, that's gone. These have all been cleaned up and look a million times better than they were before. Just got to do a little bit of work on the chassis, but we'll do all that once we've got the transformer back. I've also fitted a sort of period correct electrolytic in the hole where that what's gone. There's the old grey TCC condenser that had been fitted aftermarket. Someone had repaired it a few years ago and fitted that in there. This is it looks a lot better. It's knackered. It's an older electrolytic, but it's gone in there just for looks. So that's fitted in there nicely. Obviously the valves are at the moment, so I'm going to call it a day on this video. Thanks for watching. As I said before, if you do like it, tell your mates, please like and subscribe and hit the little bell so you should get notified when we get some new ones out. But this is end of the second part of the CAPEHART restoration video. Keep an eye out for the next one. I think it's probably going to be involving the actual tuner unit. That's quite a complicated beast, so stand by your beds for that one. But okay, as again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Fix up the screens, they're statically beamed. Granny's records keep a spinning. When the sun goes down, I tune the static sound. Old shows on the tube we know takes me back years ago. With each crackle and pop, memories never stop. Vinyl's magic in the air, we sway static dreams in black and white, guiding me through the night, back to the golden days, oh so bright.